So happy you're here today. I am so honored again to have Sarah Dawkins with us. This has been a fabulous week. We're attracting new people. Existing people are demonstrating success and progress in areas. So, it's lovely to see the garden grow together and to continue to blossom and expand. Chat's open. Chat's really what we depend on for you to redirect our thoughts and attention because we're here for you. Without the audience, there is no show, and we want to make the difference between the stage and the audience as little as possible. I'm sure me and Sarah would prefer to be in a circle with everybody there, and so maybe we can bring everybody here. So, anyways, not to get too complicated. With that, let me introduce Sarah again. Sarah's got some new experience, I'm sure, from the last 2 weeks herself. So, Sarah, say hello. And how do you view acceptance after you say hello?
Hi, Don. Hi, everybody. Most people know me. I'm Sarah Dawkins. I was a registered nurse for 20 years, and I'm now a holistic health coach. So let's take a look at acceptance, because there's so many different and varied meanings of acceptance depending on your own life filters. So acceptance, generally speaking, it's about the willingness to receive, to recognize, to approve, to even embrace either something or someone or some situation. So there's lots of different aspects of acceptance, things like personal acceptance. Do we accept ourselves, our own qualities, but also our own flaws and limitations? And then we've got social acceptance, the willingness to accept others. Can we take on board their values, their beliefs, their differences without our own prejudice against them? And then there's things like emotional acceptance, the ability to recognize your own feelings without attempting to suppress or deny them when we're talking to others, or even on our own, when we're listening to somebody, accepting that sometimes we might feel uncomfortable. And that's coming from us, not from them, because it's about how we interpret their words. And then there's things like legal acceptance, where we're accepting a contract, when we're buying a house, and spiritual acceptance, the recognition and acknowledgement of a higher power or a spiritual reality, whatever that means to anybody. It's all different. So there's lots of different types of acceptance. And for me as a health coach, the biggest thing about acceptance is it's the step that we take on our way to forgiveness. So when I'm working with clients, it's about accepting what's happened in their past, to be able to forgive, to let go, so they can move forward. So accepting is a really deep, heart, soul felt need within us to be able to let go of our past and move forward, in accepting that we're all the product of everything that we've been through, and we tend to view our lives through the lenses that we've created through our own experiences. So acceptance is a huge topic depending on which part of it you want to look at.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that every word we come up with has different meanings to different people based on where they are or where they were. Also, there is no absoluteness to any word, right? So you can accept some and not others. You could accept something of others and leave something behind. So if you're the chooser, versus the one waiting to be chosen, and you can express yourself in the moment for what your real thoughts are, that helps so much in acceptance of you, or understanding lack of acceptance in you, right? Because we were just talking, there's just too much opportunity to want to attract all of it. You want to attract the most relevant parts of it, the things that make you grow. Too many people get, and in order to get, lose something.
Yeah.
right? Time, attention to something else. Why not get something and then get something from getting something, right? Because now they're teaching you. Your students are teachers as well as students. And if you can find those who want to reciprocate, collaborate, and grow together, it's not a job anymore. It's a journey, that it turns into, and it's a journey that you don't take alone. And it's a longer journey, right? So I want to mention all the people here, and then I'll turn it back to Sarah. It's so great to see so many old faces, but just as importantly, new faces. If you're new, introduce yourself just from where you're from would be a great start, because this is a fantastic community to get known in. So many wonderful, supportive, kind people who enjoy helping. It's not a chore. So with that, let me say hello to Dean. Dean's here every day. Great guy. And everybody's presence becomes more of their inner presence as you get to know them and see them. And the outside shell kind of fades away, and that's, I think, where acceptance comes in, is understanding, communication, letting what you see and feel guide it versus what's most attractive at the moment, not don't get too caught up in the cover of the book. Lillian, good morning, everyone. Lillian's just a wonderful lady, got a beautiful spirit, and that's how I see people. Maybe other shows, they say, well, they got an MD, they got a PhD, and that is so distancing. So separating, just elite in the sense of, and we can make that a word and has 1,000 meanings too. Vivian, I hope I pronounced it right. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Ice is here. Ice that's a nickname we agreed on because I just am not good with some long names. Don't want to insult anybody. Happy Sunday, my respected friends. You are so respected. And just saying happy before you say anything to a community is inspiring, right? Little things done right over time make a big difference. Good morning. Thank you. Christine's here. Never can talk too much about Christine. We're going to get her back on a show. Good morning, Don and Sarah. Radical acceptance of people, places, and things has radically changed my life for the better. Well, if you let your life change as it wants to, you can take your thinking cap off a lot of the time. Kelly's here. Kelly's just great. Everybody knows Kelly. Always brings a smile and a bright light. Good morning, Sudur. Happy to be among great people. Well, with that, that's a good third-party validation already. Sarah, so what do you think about what we're talking about?
Absolutely. I like Christina, she said, radical acceptance of people, places, and things has radically changed her life for the better. And it does, because if as we take on board acceptance and accept what we can accept, we can let go of needing to control those things. Mm-hmm. Because we grow up trying to control things around us, our environment, our situations, even the people around us. We cling to control. And part of that comes from a trauma response, wanting the need to be able to control things. But if we can let go and just be in the flow and accept that we're all the product of our upbringings and of our life's experiences, that things happen that we can't control. There's so much that's out of our control. And if we can find it within ourselves to let go of that need to control anything outside of ourselves, because ultimately we can only control ourselves. We can't control anything else. Everything else is variable elements. Mm-hmm. So if we can learn to let go of the need to control everything, our lives will be so much freer, so much happier, because we're not trying to control it. It's like trying to herd cats or stick jelly to a wall, because it's out of our control totally. So control what we can control and allow and let go of everything else through
Makes
acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, it makes beautiful sense to me. And while you were talking, I'm thinking to myself, what are you actually looking to control? Like you say, other people are beyond your control. Most of the time, you're trying to control your future, right?
Yes.
Instead of living your present. So if you let time and situations come to you in your good time versus getting ahead of yourself, getting an advantage, getting an edge. And what do? Win bigger versus lose your present? Because that's the currency you carry. What could I enjoy now or plan for something that may never happen? And when it happens, I'm going to respond to it the way I respond to it anyways. I'm not going to look up a plan from 3 weeks ago when I was thinking something. So, you know, life is limited, it's uncertain. The only thing that is certain is you have a choice of what you focus on every moment. You could focus on a flower, you could focus on a problem, you could focus on a person who gives you negative vibes or positive. And then and I think here's the other key to acceptance. Things are moving so fast, change is so dynamic. There is no setting and forgetting. Right? It isn't say just point north and drive for 100 miles. It's like every turn, every corner is a new situation, right? And if you're in the driver's seat, you got to be focused on reacting to what's happening now versus dawdling or whatever. And daydreaming is great if you're dreaming about the right things.
Yeah.
Right? And taking a pause is so hard for people who are so used to running fast and running hard that they think they're missing something by slowing down. And what they're doing is catching up to themselves. Right? And that's where you want to be, is once you're with yourself, then things just illuminate and project. And if you're with the right people, they give you your space, right? And your permission to be the best you can be for yourself first, right? It's like going off into, an area where you just relax and then come back better for it. And if everybody allows everybody to come back, which means you don't have to always be the same. You want to be different because you want to come back better. And then as everybody in the group gets better from the group gets better. Right.
Yeah.
And the values go up because the knowledge share is like, what did you do? And now people are launching all over the place, replacing here and there, really controlling themselves instead of the future, instead of someone else, getting in full control of yourself. You ever hear of people out of control? All the time. So with that was a mouthful. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, and I actually read something this morning that I made a post on Instagram and Facebook about, and it was about viewing life as a corridor. And as we stand in the middle of this corridor, behind us is our past life, and we've closed many doors in our past life because we've grown and changed and learned and evolved and accepted a part of us to get to where we're at now. And in front of us is a long corridor full of closed doors. And we get to choose which doors we open. So why would we not want to open the doors to joy and peace and compassion and self-love? We are in the driving seat. We get to choose which doors we open. So let's choose acceptance of where we're at, because we can't deny any of our past. It's made us who we are. So if we can learn to love ourselves for who we are now, moving forwards, we can get to grow. But even if we can't learn to love ourselves now, we can use that as an evolving plan to learn to love ourselves slowly, because for some people it's harder than others based on what they've been through, their life experiences, but it's never unattainable. We can always learn to love ourselves. But on that journey of self-love, we can learn to accept that we are who we are, whether we love ourselves or not, if we can accept who we are because of what we've been through and turn our story into, well, I've survived that, and these are the strengths I've built because of that, rather than looking at our lives as a victim in a weakened state. So if we build on our strengths and accept where we're at now, we can move forwards and choose which doors down that corridor of our life that we're going to open.
Yeah, and when you look at acceptance, it's a lot to do with yourself first, right? You have to accept yourself or change yourself if you find that. The other element is, if you can't do it, could we do it? And there's so many people who are doing the best they can, but if they only knew something that they could do differently, that could change everything. And I think the key is to meet people where they're at. And one thing you can accept, and you could do it right now, is I can be better and I will be better, right? If you just accept that, you already know and you're confident of both those things. There's things you can do to be better, and you will do that. Now, when, how, with who, now you just got to fill in the blanks. I mean, you're writing your own play, right? What scenes do you want to play in? What costumes do you want to wear? Who's your supporting cast? Cast yourself in a wonderful production. And it's all there for you because you've got 40 or 50 people who would take a call from anybody in this group, right? If you said, hey, I love watching you or watching your comments, I'd love to have a Zoom, you'll get it, right? So the question is, what do you want to talk about? What corresponding value can you bring to justify it? And how often do you want to do it? Because, I'm always working with a sense of urgency. I just like to get things out of the way. I don't want to have to think about it. Just do it or not do it. And I think if everybody just started to take inventory, right? What do you need? Who do you know that might know somebody or even be able to help you? And that's why I really advocate coaching, getting a coach, getting somebody to work with, because if time is of the essence, right? Invest a little more in yourself to cut the time frame down and get a little more certainty into your ability to be successful. And you need somebody to help you. Dean says acceptance is the key to all my problems. Once one admits they've taken the first step is the best step, because it gets you moving. It gets you out of where you are, and you just made a change that shows you just made a change. Paul says, I always tell myself, what you aren't changing, you are choosing. And, I think that's a great point, Paul, because people have never had as many choices as they do now, right? Most people depend on their neighborhood or their family or their school to have exposure to that, let's say, group. And now this is international, and it's connecting in real time with real people. And anybody right now can come up with something and say, I'm tired of thinking about this. Anybody got any ideas? Right? We start with a word just to get us back to something all the time and relate to something. But wherever you have something you need to share or want to share, everybody wants to hear from you, believe me. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Don. And sometimes I see myself outside of my coaching profession. I see myself as like a connector, connecting people, because people will come to me and say, do you know anybody that can do this, or I'm looking for that, and so I find I'm shuffling people. I've got people over here who want people over here but don't know about them, and I've got people over here who need these people on the other side and don't know about them. So I find myself connecting people, which is great because it's bringing people together like we are doing now. We're building a community of like-minded people in that we want to talk and have discussions, because there is no right or wrong. There's only our own views. And, you know, we don't all fit into the same mold. Let's be different. Let's have those discussions. Let's do that talking. But also let's remain open-minded, because to make change means you've got to want something different to what you've got now. And if you don't want anything different to what you've got now, chances are you're not going to make any change. So as I can't remember who said it earlier on, was it Dean actually said, taking that first step, you are choosing that change and you are taking that first step, and it only has to be a baby step. It doesn't have to be a huge stride into your new future. You are forging your new path ahead, based on the change that you want to see. And, you know, we could look at, some people like to look at the big picture in the distance and go, that's where I want to be, and I'll work out the baby steps. Other people will look at it and go, I don't like this, so I'm going to look at this baby step that I can take now to change that, and another baby step and another baby step. And when they look back, those people, they're like, we have walked such a long way. So there's two camps of people, but both types of people have chosen to make change within their lives. They've accepted, because we're on acceptance, that they need to change, and have chosen to make that change one way or another.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about change, we're talking about parts of you changing. There's things that serve you well. There are things that are hugely beneficial, and you should be very proud that you've achieved that, right? And just doing a LinkedIn Live is a big step, you know, a big hurdle for a lot of people, right? So, you know, it's being aware and accepting the good things you do every day.
Yes.
To give that some position on your balance sheet. So many people take for granted everything they usually do and do well. And because they do it, they just think it's like almost an entitlement, right? Versus something went wrong, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And that became the spotlight for them. And it doesn't have to. They could have 9 wonderful awards, and one lesson would be the failure. What I learned from this, that I can now bring it over to that column eventually.
Yes.
See, if you give yourself time, you know, I was just bringing up the other day, if you say, I'm going to get rejected 5 times probably before I get accepted. So the first rejection is 20% of the way home, right? Once you get to 5, now you figure it'll happen. And along the way, everybody will teach you what you should have done to get to 6, you know? And if you qualify and define that as an education and something that will have huge value, you can almost thank the first rejector, right? Thank you. It's like passing a course. Now I can go on to number 2. But you might surprise yourself, because with a comfortable attitude of acceptance of whatever may come or go, when the first one says yes, wow, you know, I say 5 people,
Yeah.
you know, and that's where you set yourself up for victory. You know, what's it take to win? You only decide. To me, getting up every day is winning. You know, going somewhere is winning. Talking with somebody is winning. Everything you do versus not do, or live in fear of doing or being done to. You know, that's where all this stuff comes from. You're as free as a bird when you want yourself to be. So with that, let's cover some of these wonderful people and their great comments. Change is inevitable truth of our existence. I love change, because you can always go back to what was if you don't like what you now created. And very few people go back. You know, they're so fearful of going forward. Once they're there, they don't even think of it. That's where coaching and having a workout buddy helps. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn is to accept you have to let people make their own choices, even if you know it's wrong. Well, you know, you never know what you don't know. And you don't know what motivates people. And I think everybody should have free choice and free will, to do whatever they need or want to do. It's just up to us to be able to create options or new ways of doing things that someone may want to try on, or just watch how someone else wears it, to see if that would make sense. Lillian's here. Uh, Power of Free Will, Paul says. We've got a new individual that I haven't seen. Oh, no, Aaron's been here. Thanks for sharing. Dr. Joanne White, who's been a great host here. And I try to get as many people in the audience to be a co-host because there shouldn't be a big differential. Good morning. Yes, sir. The choice is ours. Acceptance is a better choice and will make a better world. And a better world helps everybody. I will tell them what you aren't changing, you're choosing. Omar's here. Omar was a guest. He's doing some incredible things from Arizona. Christine says, is accepting life, and it is not as you wish or think it should be. Well, if you make it about it and not you, everything gets easier because you don't take it personally as much. And and you do the best you can. And when you've done the best you can, give yourself some credit. The first step is significant. And why not add things like significance to acceptance, right? Have a couple words going for you. Then we've got Tapas, who I haven't seen, I don't believe. Comment reminds me of 5 stages of grief: denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance. Let me see if Chastity's here, who's a great friend of Gretchen, who's here on every other Mondays. Okay, so what do you think? We're covering a lot of ground, Sarah.
Yeah, and acceptance is such a big subject as well, isn't it? And as I alluded to earlier, and has been mentioned in the comments, it's about, some people see that big picture and some people see the baby steps. It doesn't matter what you see, as long as you start taking those steps towards what it is you want to be or who you want to be, if you're coming back to yourself, if you're finding yourself. Because many people have grown up people pleasing, trying to be somebody for everybody. And like Paul said, one of the hardest things, I think he said, was to allow people to make their own mistakes, even though you know that they're making that mistake. They've got to learn for themselves. And we don't like to see people hurt themselves, and hurt not necessarily fall over, but hurt in many different aspects. And if we've been in those situations, we want to reach out and offer help and support and guidance. But as he says, and we have to accept that we all have to make our own mistakes. We all have to learn in life. And it is hard, especially as a parent. You try and teach your children from your own experience. But what experience has taught me is that those kids have got to go and learn those lessons themselves. And even as adults, a lot of adults have still got to go and learn those lessons. So we have to accept that we are all individuals, and some people will take on board our help, but a lot of people need to learn that lesson themselves. And we have to accept that that is their lesson in life, and we can't interfere with it. If they want to tap into our experience, they will ask. But if they don't ask, it can be quite dangerous giving unsolicited advice when it's not wanted. And it will fall on deaf ears anyway. So accepting that people need to make their own mistakes and learn themselves can be difficult and challenging for us when we want to not let them get that hurt or go through that pain that we've been through if we've had that same experience. So that really is a lesson for ourselves, to accept that not everybody wants our help. Whether we want to give it or not everybody is receptive to it. So we need to rein that back in and accept that, yes, we've got the skills, yes, we can help them, but they actually don't want our help. So we have to hold that back and accept that they want to go it alone.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, that's why, it's such an honor to have Sarah here, because she really has a way of communicating really important concepts very easily. And, I always found what's good for you is good for people like you, and how you like to be taught or approached, is different. But, meeting somebody where they're at as a friend, not as a teacher, because right there you're separating yourself. You're creating, you're on top and they're the student who needs you, versus maybe they're the teacher you need.
Yeah.
Right. And if you start teaching them, you're going to stop them teaching you. See, so if everything's part of being reciprocal and circulating, what you get and how you receive it has a lot to do with how you give it and the next person receives it. And if you start judging when all you have to do is the activity, not the judgment, right? It's just something that with everybody doing it together, it works. And the other thing is we meet every day. There is no fire. You can learn a little bit about somebody every day and eventually enjoy, like reading a book. And then you've got 20, 30 other people that are coming back. And, I do get feedback that says people are treating me differently, and I don't know why. And I say, because you're evolving and don't notice the changes that you're projecting, right? With a lot of this information, if you can get calmer, become more confident, feel like the future is yours to choose, right? Then things that come in front of you have to be compared to what's in your future, right? If you're going to a trip in 2 weeks, you'll probably not be able to go to another trip while you can't be in two sides of the fence at the same time. So that's what I see, is allowing change to happen to you, accepting the process instead of grabbing, buying, cajoling, selling to get it. Be it. And everything about it will attract you to yourself and to them, right? And why not all get as pure as we can, as honest as we can? And with that, fear goes away, security comes in, right? Conversations. And, everybody has a channel they look at every hour. And maybe the acceptance is changing the programming that you're watching that might have served you or was the best out there at the time, and upgrade and do it incrementally and enjoyably. If you wanted to read a book, read the last page. You'll be done with it, right? If that's all you wanted to do is read it and get through it. So with that, this is really great how a word can move you in so many different directions. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, and I want to add to what you've just said, because as we grow and learn and change and evolve, some of the people around us will no longer resonate with who we're becoming, and like you said, they will fall away and they will no longer be in our lives. And we have to find a way to be okay with that, because as we grow and evolve, they might not want to. So we will be on different levels. It's not that we're going to be higher than them. We will just be at different levels, at different levels of evolvement, of change. And as we change and grow, other people will come into our lives, because we're changing, we're growing. So the people who want to grow and change will find us, like we are here, having these discussions. The people that resonate with the subject matter, or the people that are speaking, will come and join in. But other people who don't want to be a part of it will not join. And that's going to be throughout life. Our lives, as we grow and evolve and change over time, people will fall away naturally and others will come in. And they say people come into your lives for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. So it's a case of, well, are those people reason, season, or lifetime people? Are they going to grow and evolve with me, or will they fall away? But whatever happens, we need to accept that that is a known phenomenon as people grow and change.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at people as suppliers, as nourishers, right? There's times when you want to change, right? If you're eating seafood all the time and you love it, the next week you might want to decide to change. And the same thing with people. People serve different purposes at different times, and some people have come into your life for one day and made you redirect something that you wouldn't have without them. And then they went on their merry way and maybe helped somebody else redirect, but that's all you needed from them. No one has to give somebody a bear hug and never unhug, right? You want people who are also free that can start pursuing their situations, right? And with everybody being free, no one holds anybody back. And nobody should judge when it's time for someone to leave. Yeah. At any time, wherever you are, you say, it's time to go, right? You might have just got there in 10 minutes and had all the fun you needed, or you found out it wasn't where you wanted to be, or you might spend the whole weekend there if it served you. But, that's why breaking it down to the moment. What do I see? What do I feel? And does this match my vision? See, once you can get a vision and you accept it, right? You already see the future. You just got to fill in the gaps. They asked Michelangelo, how did he ever sculpt David? And he says, I always saw him in that block of marble. I just had to chip everything else away, right? And it's the same thing about your life. If you build it like you love it, then everything in between is just time and effort. How long do you want to wait? And that's the key. So if you already believe it's on its way, but you can't sit and wait, you got to do what you can to move it forward. It's a whole different way of living, right? And then if you visualize that, people come in, you say, do they fit my vision? Is there a place for them? And what's your thoughts, Sarah?
Yeah, I think exactly the same as you, Don. You can't just sit and expect life to come to you. You have to go and work out what it is that you want to do and where you want to be and what you want to heal and change. Because quite often it's our ego will hold us back, as will our emotional traumas, which we tend to bury deep within us. And when we're triggered, those emotional traumas will spill out, but our conscious won't understand where it's coming from because they're deep within our subconscious. So as we grow and evolve, we will find these emotional responses unacceptable in some areas, and then we need to look at that and accept that it's because of something that's happened, and we need to look at healing it. And we can't heal it by keep stuffing it down. We've got to really go into it and accept. And it comes back to acceptance. We have to accept that these things have happened in our lives and we need to heal them to be able to move forwards. We can't just sit and hope that it will heal, or hope that life will happen, or hope that we'll get that job. We have to do some work to get to where we want to be. And as I said earlier, it depends. Are you a big picture person or a detail person? Do you need to look at the big picture and go, I want to move around the world, I want to have this job, I want to be self-employed, or I just want to stop eating the fast food that I'm eating, or I want to start making some changes to exercise routines, or whatever it is. We need to start taking that step towards what it is that we want, because it's not going to happen for us. We have to be an active participant in our own life. And even by accepting that we are who we are because of what we've been through and our life's experiences, well, that's great, but that's only the first step. You've then got to take a step after that into what it is that you want to change. So you can accept everything that's gone by in the past, but unless you then take that second step to move yourself forwards from where you're at now, it's not going to happen. So go inside, find that courage, and courage is literally only, someone said, is only 20 seconds after what it is that you're frightened of as you step through into it. Courage is only extra time on top of fear when you step through that fear and out the other side. So let's do that. Let's take a deep breath. Ask for guidance if you want, whoever, whether you believe in God, angels, the universe, it doesn't matter. Just say, please help me now. Let go of the fear and take a deep breath and step into what it is that you're fearful of. I mean, for me, last year, it was making videos. I can talk to people, but being on video was so challenging. And now here I am with you doing video work. So take that breath, step into that fear and let it go. And the more you do that, the easier it gets. So I accept where you're at now and accept it's going to take steps to get to where you want to be, but you have to keep on that journey. You cannot stay static. Change will not happen if you are static. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. And, time waits for nobody, and nobody should wait for time, right? The time is now for whatever it is, and you decide what it is, right? It doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be successful. It just has to be something that fills your soul, right? Makes you want to wake up the next day and do it again. You need to build celebrations, because acceptance is accepting that balance is the only way you're going to get to acceptance, right? If you're out of balance, you're accepting a half a loaf, right? When you could have the whole loaf. And again, it's about your design, right? Again, not waiting for things to happen to you, or for you, but to really open themselves up to tell you what the price of admission is going to take, right? If you go to medical school, they kind of tell you how long this is going to take. And so after the first year, you're not wondering. So anyways, let me just share some of these new people who are really existing people, but I'll just run through them. Lillian's here. Nicole, who was my guest yesterday and knocked it out of the park and has just a beautiful story and is now an international bestseller that she wasn't before, as part of a book of which she contributed to, and another book's coming out. And this all happened in the last year. Gokul's here. Ice is here. I mean, there's so many good friends and circles. Andrea makes a very good comment. People are afraid because their belief of not good enough was instilled in them at a young age, afraid of getting confirmed they are not good enough, but we're all good enough. And Andrea, you're so special. Andrea does Tuesdays and brings just her heart every time she comes here, and with the really motivation to see as many people smile, get a benefit. And what's your thoughts towards Andrea's comment of being instilled at a young age?
Absolutely, totally, 100%. I mean, Andrea lives and breathes and walks her talk. She is who she is because of what she's gone through, and she's helping other people, supporting them because of her knowledge of what she's been through. I too was the unseen, unheard child, so that needed a lot of healing myself. When people tell you, you're not worthy, and why did you say that, and why did you do that, and why do you look like that, and why did you wear that, and you grow up questioning yourself, well, who am I? And then you start being somebody who you're not to please other people, to try and fit in. So once we understand why we're doing what we're doing, we're thinking what we're thinking, and where our beliefs of not being worthy come from, we can then start working with them and finding who are we underneath all of this unworthiness that people have laid on top of us. So that takes a lot of healing. but it can be healed. Andrea and myself have both healed that to move forwards within our lives. But it does take work, because people, you will look for validation in people and things that validates that you're not worthy and you're not good enough. And everything else you will be embarrassed to take on board. So once you accept that this programming from being a young child is instilled within you, and understand it's because of people's life experiences that they do that to us, because of their lack of skills and their own not knowing and their own lack of healing. So once we can accept that that person said that because of their own problems and traumas, we can start working to let that go and accept ourselves as who we are now, with a view to changing to who we want to be. So it is a process, and it is hurtful, and it takes some work to overcome that. But as Andrea and I are testament, it is possible. We can do that.
Yeah, and everything is possible if you put your mind to it. Because there's so many times people told me I couldn't do it or couldn't get done. And I believed in myself more than I believed in them. And that was the difference. I decided, yeah, I heard you. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe it gives me a little more caution. But once you have a dream, you have an obligation to try to live it. Because you'll find that by trying to live it, you'll probably even create a bigger dream that you could have never planned without the pursuit of a dream. Because people want to know what they're buying, right? If I'm going to invest in something, what is it going to look like when I get it? Well, you're the one who's going to create it. Why not design it based on how you create? And then if you say I'm coming up short, well, bring some people into it and share it with them. And now everybody's got a better dream. Right? Dream together for each other. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you start letting go and expressing instead of internalizing, right? If you got great flow in and out, I mean, breathing is where it's all at. If you live like you breathe, it gets effortless if you want it to. Nicole's here, Tapas is here. I haven't ever known Tapas, but I'm glad he's here because so many other people do. And I love when circles combine, right? And everybody gets bigger for it. When you share everybody with everybody, why wouldn't you free everybody up? If you want freedom, you need to give freedom. Paul says, good morning. Okay, Gregory's here. That's a new name. Thank you. Great time. My favorite quote, God grant me the serenity, except to think, okay. That's so pertinent and relevant. And it's so easy to do. If you just reorganize your day with gratitude time, celebration time, friendship time, reach out time, you're going to be so busy. When you used to think, what did I do yesterday is going to come back to me today? What am I going to do tomorrow that I'm going to get something from? And again, you're not respecting yourself. You're not respecting your happiness, right? And at the end of the day, success can only be measured in happiness, right? Nicole, sometimes we can't just knock. Sometimes we need to kick the door down. I've always believed I'm a whatever it takes guy. And that's when I get into something. It's like whatever it takes, because it's worth it. And why would I leave something behind? Why wouldn't I take everything with me and apply it everywhere I go, then measure it and say they only deserve this much because they're only paying this much? Or, they get these dumb things in your head, and they're limiting beliefs. They're saying you're afraid of getting cheated. For what? Your advice? For your time? It's so presumptuous that you would think you're that much of something to think someone might even owe you a little bit by giving something. And that's why examine what you say, examine what you think, and ask people for their perspective of you. I had a wonderful conversation with a lady the other day, and she gave me 3 tips about the show, and they were constructive criticism, but they're all right. And I can't tell you how important that is. I love to hear what people have to say because I give myself the ability to listen and judge and not accept at face value or not fear what they're going to say. Because you know what? Sometimes you ask them, why did you say that? Or what was your intention? And they don't even know because they've been carrying around that style of doing things. And now they can thank you for telling them their shoelaces were untied and maybe you saved them from a big fall, right? So what do you think, Sarah? I mean, great comments, huh?
I think there's some fabulous comments coming through here. I can't keep up with them. But yeah, absolutely. How much can your life change in a year, Paul? A lot, a lot. When you put that intention out there that, you know, this is the way I'm going. Congratulations on your 2,000 plus videos. But it's about what do we want for ourselves, and let's make it happen. And like you've just alluded to, Don, with the lady who gave you the constructive criticism, if we can keep an open mind, because most people will tell us what they think. There's very few people that will reserve themselves until asked. Many will tell us their thoughts, their feelings, what they think. And in taking on board that constructive criticism, we have to look at it with that open mind and say, is there an element of truth in what they're saying here? You know, because our ego will go, oh, I don't like that. It's criticism in the main. But if we can keep that open mind and go, is there an element of truth? And what will happen if I take on board their suggestions or their criticism? What is it that I need to change about me, about the show, about my way of life? And will it actually help me? So if we can, being open-minded is the key to it all. You know, we need to take these blinkers off and remain open-minded, because most people want to help, although it can come across as a bit brutal and brusque. In the main, most people want to help when they vocalize. So let's look for the truth in it. Let's keep an open mind, but also let's remember they're a product of their experiences. And if their experiences have led them to be a bit brutal and brusque, then we can't change that, but we can take on board their words. Is there any meaning in their words? Is it helpful for us to review whatever we're doing in our lives with aligning with whatever they've said?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much truth to what everybody's participating in now because, you know, you start with a word and then you dig deeper and it gets richer, right? And then you can relate to it, and all of a sudden change is starting to happen because you're thinking of something new from somebody new. And if everybody says, let's all change together in 10 seconds, it's easier as a group, you know? And what I would advocate is don't look at this as it. Take this and stair step it. I mean, if you really like what Sarah's saying, check out Sarah's profile, and you know, you can get all of her content for as long as you want to go back to read. It's all there, it's free, it's available. And then if you want to get to know somebody better, set up a call with someone. And this applies to everybody on the screen. And you know, like with Tapas, when everybody says Tapas is here, I think, wow, if all these great people know Tapas or anybody else that comes here and vouches for them, they're already pre-vetted, right? And they're safe. And trust yourself to trust yourself. That's what's so important about acceptance. You know, reach out, and no matter what it is, it's an experience, right? And it's either an earning one or a learning one. You know, failure isn't final, and I don't even like the word failure. You know, it's feedback. Everything you do, if it doesn't work, it's another opportunity to do it better, right? Maybe it would have been just mediocre if you would have snuck through. Now you're going to have to engineer it to make it more of what it can be. But here, you've got all the tools already inside of you. How much more could you do? I always say to myself, if I had to, I could do a lot more than I'm doing and a lot better if I had to. right? And if you know you got that reserve and you're not willing to use it because you don't want to at this time, share it with someone else, right? If you got an overflowing cup, ask somebody to take some of it from you, right? And that's fun, and I think that's the other thing to acceptance is enjoy it. Don't struggle with it. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Don't deny it. Don't run from it. Just as it's easier for the flow if you don't put big walls up and things that you don't even know what you're guarding against, and most of the time it's you who needs to be freed up, right? And by having an open mind, that's the beginning of freedom, is having an openness. So with that, we're coming on the top. Let me just go through some people here. Nicole's been great. I just love help people. And the beauty of this show is that now it's expanding on other people's shows. Kelly's got her show, which is the Awesome Journey. I know that Gretchen's got her show, The Plight Attendant. So many people, and we're getting these messages out. And what's nice is everybody in everybody's group is starting to show up everywhere and have access now to so many more people that at a certain point, it's all about pull strategy instead of push. It's things that come to you instead of you chasing, or having to promote yourself as other people, when you can have your voice and your spirit be the ones that people see over the superficial. And there's so many people that need what we have and can use it. And I think that's part of community, is sharing it with others in the best way possible, not selling it or cajoling somebody, but just say, you're sharing stuff all the time. Could be a movie you went to, a dinner you went to, but what is meaningful? What is valuable? And even on the comments, people are Brene Brown. People are bringing other people to the party, other sayings, other quotes. And that's what everybody says. Paul introduced me to 7 people in a week, and like 4 became co-hosts, right? Because they came from Paul. And if everybody could do a little bit more for everybody, it would mean a whole lot for everybody's future. And wouldn't it be great, to see people continue to graduate, to continue, just like Sarah says, what a difference a year could make. That if you started today, maybe in 365 days, you could be living the dream. And Nicole, who just wrote the book, right? She says she's living the best life she's ever had, and she's living a dream. So, I always believe if someone can do it who you see as being just like you, then you can do it. And, they've done it. Maybe they'll help you get over the finish line if you need an extra little boost. So, I just can't say enough for that. So anyways, with that, the comments never stopped. Let me get some meaty ones here. Believe in yourself, take on your challenges, dig deep within yourself to conquer fears. Never let anyone bring you down. You got this. This is you. This is your life. This is what you've lived for. This is what you've gone through for. Make it happen. Get out there. You're not going to get hurt. Believe me. If anything, you'll say, I wish I'd have done this earlier. But that's a judgment. But it's important you find out for yourself. Accepting who are and working on being the best versions of us, a better lifestyle as possible, if we can believe it. There's so much abundance within yourself. You don't have to go outside to split it or to have to deal with it. Create it. You've got the beauty, share it, show it. And after a while, you're going to like what you see more, right? You're going to want to see more of it. And that's what will build is success. Thanks for sharing. This could have been a 2-hour show and we wouldn't have had a problem. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, when you'll find it. Steve Jobs. How did he become who he was? Did he settle? Did he stay with everybody he was friends with in 5th grade? No, you got to keep moving up. And if people and take people with you or help people, and if they can't, well, one day maybe they will, but you can't slow down waiting for someone who may never speed up. Charles, that part, don't sell, is so important. That's where I'm at. You deserve to be where you're at. Nicole, okay, Paul, become an attractor versus a chaser. Big lesson I had to learn the hard way. Yeah, it's so much better that way, and people don't like to be chased anyways. Paul, I would love to hear you talk about this. Paul, accept that's impossible equals I'm possible, and that's Paul's show, and I want to promote Paul every chance I get. The only limit to our realization tomorrow will be our doubts of today. So true and timeless. The stuff we're talking about is evergreen, right? You could hear this 100 years from now and still just as relative. Where did time go? God willing, I'll be here in 23. Well, let's hope. Pulling for you. Were you referring to the pursuit of happiness or happiness, Don? Don't quite know the distinction. We'll have to talk about that, Tapas, but I like that question. Absolutely. It doesn't work out. It's not to do it better rather than throw in a towel. I mean, every day is a fun day if you want to make it that way. People are too serious. They think too much, enjoy too little. It's almost like they bought a sandwich and decided to cut only a quarter off and eat it. This is, we almost got to the end. Don't watch a clock, do what it does. Sam Levinson. So right. The score will take care of itself if you're playing the game on the field. So with that said, we just cleared an hour. Sarah, I think this has been superb. And I think, there's so much good energy and chemistry in this group and with everybody that it's really nice to know in an hour you can impact so many people. And we got a thumbs up from Paul. So before we go, how are things going with your podcast? You can mention you have a podcast, Sarah, people would like to know.
Okay, so my podcast is the same title as my book, Heal Yourself, with Sarah Dawkins. It's on all the main podcasting channels, Google, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and you can access it all for free. Sign up, like, comment, subscribe, please share. It's getting better. I'm learning new tricks. I'm doing new things with DaVinci Resolve, so I'm learning to be a bit of a techie geek. But yeah, it's going, thanks.
Well, that's good. That's good. Valerie's here. I'm here just reciting Serenity Prayer over and over, having trouble accepting work stressors. Well, you're doing the right thing. You're coming into yourself and you're really providing yourself with great, thought-provoking opportunities. So anyways, I want to thank everybody. Can't thank you enough. And that's why I come back tomorrow and I'll tell you who we have. Tomorrow is Catherine Chadwick for the first time. If you know Catherine, wonderful lady. I think it's going to be amazingly valuable. Andrea's Tuesday. Michael C. Ashburnair is here on Wednesday. I'm bad with names. Thursday, Kelly, Dan Portick, and me. Friday, Christy, Harvey, and me. And then Leslie is here on next Saturday. So a lot of great people. And can't thank Sarah enough. Sarah, final words for the audience?
Keep moving forwards. Keep planning. You can always change your plans. And even if you stumble, don't forget it's a forwards movement. Keep going. You've got it.
Oh, man, I can't even top that. So with that, see you in 23 hours. Rest up. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.